Humans, on the other hand, prioritize sex over health and safety. An overly stressed body will automatically respond by decreasing the sex drive to preserve energy for the first and second reptilian priorities. The amount of Viagra sold today is but one indication that our human brain has distorted our reptilian drive for safety and sustenance, raising our stress levels so high that many can't enjoy a healthy sexual relationship. If you're suffering from a low sex drive, you'll need to get your reptilian priorities of security and sustenance sorted out. The checkpoints at the end of this chapter will help with the first priority. Chapters 3 and 4 will show you how to get the food and nutrients your body needs. Ignoring our reptilian and mammalian instincts does very little to improve our stress levels. Modern society is driven by new brain desires to look better and have more material goods, often at the expense of physical and mental health, resulting in more stress and disease. Checkpoints for managing stress. Identify your primary stressor. Focus on reducing stress in the area that is causing you the most stress. Generally, the reptilian priorities are security, sustenance, and sex. Alleviating the chief stressor in your life often creates a domino effect, wiping out or dramatically reducing other stressors in succession. Make a plan. Make a realistic plan to address your biggest stressor and set a series of achievable short-term goals, allowing you to clearly recognize progress as it's made. Look for current books, videos, or audio programs that address issues related to your key stressor and how to overcome it. Another effective method is to find someone who has already been successful at overcoming the challenge you now face. There is no better teacher than experience. Eat and drink right. Internal stressors only serve to magnify external stressors. Regardless of what your primary stressor may be, if you aren't eating according to your primal pattern diet, you will not be able to effectively replace the stress hormones you're using on a daily basis, which only causes more stress to the body. Once you know your primal pattern diet type, go out of your way to eat as much organic and free-range food as possible. The more conveniently farmed food you eat, the more toxins you're consuming. These toxic poisons create significant stress at a metabolic level, and many of them have been linked to mental and emotional dysfunction. Dehydration is a common cause of internal stress. A reduction of as little as 1% of water content in your central nervous system can cause significant psychological disorders. Reducing your intake of coffee, tea, and sodas, plus drinking more high-quality water, is an easy way to start reducing the internal stress on your body. Move and exercise. Regular exercise can be a major tool to reduce stress. When performed correctly for your particular needs, exercise in the correct dose stimulates an anabolic tissue growth and repair environment. Your exercise program is carefully constructed so as not to overstress your body. If you scored high on your stress questionnaire, it's very important that you pay close attention to the energy balancing exercises in Chapter 6. These exercises will help stimulate your parasympathetic system, which is important if you're overstressed. Mental exercise. You're a living magnet, and you inevitably attract into your life the people, circumstances, ideas, and resources in harmony with your dominant thoughts. Brian Tracy, The Luck Factor. Many successful individuals give credit to the power of positive thinking. Try harmonizing your thoughts, words, and actions with your goals, and you may find that this will help decrease stress. Doing so is a good example of beneficial mental or psychic stress. Make sure you're talking and thinking about what you do want rather than what you don't. There are many excellent resources available that will show you how to apply this technique in your life. Other effective approaches to reducing stress include meditation and the use of a computer program called Freeze Framer, an emotional management enhancer that helps you access and maintain mental and emotional balance. These modalities will help reduce your stress levels by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. Traits and functionality associated with the reptilian brain. Regulates breathing, heartbeat, digestion, elimination, sleep-wake cycles, and temperature. The 4 F's. Fight, flight, feeding, and fornicating. Instinctual. Ritualistic. Defining hierarchy within a group and establishing space in the ecological niche. Traits and functionality associated with the mammalian brain. Increased sense of subordination, increased capacity for memory and learning, significant expansion of the emotional centers of the brain, playful moods, fright, passion, joy, sadness, females, nurse, and protect young. Traits and functionality associated with the human brain. Rational thinking, capable of producing symbolic language, enabling intellectual activities such as reading, writing, and performing mathematical calculations. The ability to generate ideas, the ability to ignore reptilian and mammalian instincts, spiritual development. He who is of calm and happy nature will hardly feel the pressure of age, but to him who is of an opposite disposition, youth and age are equally a burden. Plato, The Republic. Case history. Jackie Holman, Czech practitioner, level 2, Bowling Green, Ohio, client of Paul Chek, and Chris Mound, master Czech practitioner. After meeting Paul Chek, my life changed forever, and I am now much healthier than I could have imagined. My only regret is not having met him earlier and been given the ability to take charge of my health issues sooner. My name is Jackie Holman, and I'm a 41-year-old female Czech practitioner, level 2. I spent the greater part of my life competing in athletics, including basketball at collegiate and professional levels, and rugby. After becoming a manager at a world gym, I immersed myself in bodybuilding. I once thought the sport of bodybuilding and bodybuilders themselves were the ultimate in health and fitness. One day, a bodybuilder friend recommended the supplement Ripped Fuel. So I followed the directions on the back of the bottle to take 3 capsules 3 times a day. I don't drink coffee or any other type of caffeine, so it sent me over the edge. I backed it down to 1 capsule, first thing in the morning. I performed this ritual for 8 years. My rationale for taking Ripped Fuel was that I needed the extra energy to get up at 3:50 a.m. each weekday so I could get my workout in. I weighed 158 pounds and was able to bench 225, leg press 1,000, squat 315, and dumbbell press 95 pounds. And started training my first clients at 5:30 a.m. As my business took off, my days became longer and I ended around 6:45 p.m. I needed something to get me through that long day. While helping my sister on her horse farm, I was bucked off a stubborn horse, landing squarely on my tailbone, displacing and injuring it severely. Since I had no insurance, I tried to rehabilitate myself with bodybuilding exercise. This only made things worse. My life was heading in a downward tailspin, but by golly, I looked good, which is the bodybuilder's mentality. Then I just started to notice a slight decline in my energy levels and I began putting on a little body fat. My health started to fail. Deep down inside, I knew something was wrong. A few years later, while attending a personal trainers conference in Chicago, I took a class by Paul Chek. Paul began the class by asking how many of us evaluated our clients before developing their personalized exercise program. In truth, none of us did. Paul challenged the class to identify orthopedic red flags and learn how the body works. A year later, I took the level 1 of the Czech certification course at the Institute in Encinitas, California. After hearing of my health problems, Paul had me test the function of my adrenal glands, I discovered I was suffering from adrenal exhaustion. I knew I had to make a change in my life and fast. I was told effective immediately no more ripped fuel, and I was to get up no earlier than 6 a.m. I quit ripped fuel cold turkey. At first I struggled, wanted to take it like a drug addict, but I was afraid that if I took it just one more day, it would fire up my heart and I would die. I suffered from low energy, fatigue, lethargy, and needed lots of sleep, more than 8 hours. I had trouble getting up in the mornings. I started to gain weight and couldn't lose it. I had low blood pressure, heart rate, menstrual problems, severe cramps, PMS, was very irritable, and retained water. I suffered from poor concentration and memory, depression, and weakened immune function. I was exhausted and had trouble doing one single exercise. It's been 2 long years now, and I'm in recovery. I need to be proactive in my own health care. The Czech Institute was my hospital and the staff, my holistic doctors. If it weren't for the Czech Institute, I wouldn't be here today. Now, I only eat organic foods. I do not train with machines, but use cable crossovers, Swiss balls, balance boards, medicine balls, free weights, and a squat rack. My adrenals are out of the basement. I know I'm not where I need to be yet, but I thank God I'm not where I used to be. I am a much healthier and happier person. I am enjoying the journey and believe in my heart that the Czech Institute's practices are the future in health and fitness. Be proactive and take the time to educate yourself on how to look after your health. Chapter 12, Are you getting to bed on time? One of the biggest obstacles I face when coaching people to optimal health is getting them to understand the importance of going to bed on time. Today's world of late night TV and bright lights at the touch of a switch make it easy to forget that for thousands of years we lived in sync with the light and dark cycles of day and night. Our physiology is still the same as our ancestors. Sun-driven ancestors were simply packaged in fancy clothes, drive cars, and use lots of electronic gadgets. Despite the availability of our artificial 24-hour, 365 days a year light, we're still tuned to the natural rhythm of daily and seasonal light-dark cycles. The best way to illustrate my point is to share my own experience a few years ago. I began to suffer from a number of nagging ailments such as neck pains, headaches, skin changes, itching, poor recovery from exercise, forgetfulness, dyslexic behavior, and was having a hard time focusing at work. I tried several different approaches, and although my health improved, I still noted a general fatigue and lack of focus. I consulted Dr. William Timmons, a naturopathic physician and founder of BioHealth Diagnostics in San Diego, California. In order to get to the bottom of what prevented me from a full recovery during our initial consultation, Dr. Timmons asked me to describe my work schedule and a typical day. I explained that for many years I had lectured all over the world, a schedule that had me on airplanes and in many different countries for about 6 months each year. Most nights I would work until after 1 a.m. Even though I got about 7 hours of sleep each night, I usually woke up feeling tired. Circadian cycle, a natural physiological cycle of about 24 hours that persists even in the absence of external cues. Dr. Timmons recognized that the majority of my symptoms were due to circadian cycle disruption and sleep deprivation. He convinced me that no matter what else I did until I got to bed by 10:30 p.m. and got a full 8 hours of sleep, I'd be wasting my time and money. While the night owl in me dreaded the thought of changing my schedule so dramatically, I respected his opinion and followed his advice. The changes in my body were dramatic. Within the first week, my energy levels and concentration improved, and my headaches and neck aches were dramatically reduced. I continue to follow Dr. Timmons' advice to respect my natural sleep-wake cycles, and I feel great. Our natural sleep-wake cycles. The cycles of light and dark that result from the movements of the sun and planets affect nearly all living creatures. Even though humans had the ability to use fire thousands of years ago, our activity and sleep schedules were still very much in tune with the sun and our environment. To illustrate how influential light is over the physiology of all life and nature, consider that during the solar eclipse on August 11, 1999, birds, horses, and many other creatures went to sleep in the middle of the day when the sun was eclipsed. Whenever light stimulates your skin or eyes, regardless of the source, your brain and hormonal system think it's morning. In response to light, your hormonal system naturally releases cortisol. Cortisol is an activating hormone that is released in response to stress, light being a form of electromagnetic stress. This activates the body and prepares it for movement, work, combat, or whatever may be necessary for survival. We must remember that our physiological systems were well developed long before we even began using fire. So as far as your body is concerned, light equals sunshine equals cortisol release equals daytime activities. As the sun rises, our cortisol levels also rise and peak between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. They then drop a little but remain high through midday, supporting daily activities. In the afternoon, cortisol levels begin dropping significantly, especially as the sun goes down. Decreasing cortisol levels allows the release of melatonin and increase the levels of growth and repair hormones. If we follow our natural sleep-wake cycles, we start winding down as the sun sets and should fall asleep by about 10 p.m. Physical repairs mostly take place when the body is asleep, between about 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. After 2 a.m., the immune and repair energies are more focused on psychogenic repair, which lasts until we awaken. Many of our hormones are produced in tune with the cycle of the sun. Stress-activating hormones are produced as the sun rises and peak around mid-morning. As the day progresses, the level of stress hormones decrease. The body then begins to increase production of growth and repair hormones as the sun goes down. Our bodies are designed to wind down from sunset until about 10 p.m., when sleep and physical repair should begin. Psychogenic repair takes place predominantly from about 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Disrupted sleep-wake cycles. Figure 2 shows what happens if cortisol levels are elevated above normal by internal or external stressors. The continued release of stress hormones may be a great idea for a mountain climber who is climbing hard to avoid a storm and is faced with a climb or freeze situation. But you don't want this response to be an everyday occurrence. Further, a brightly lit house, late night TV, and working late into the evening will keep the levels of stress hormones high past sundown. Fluorescent lights, TV, and computer screens flicker on and off between 60 and 120 cycles per second, which your brain interprets as morning sunlight. Since cortisol can take hours to clear from your bloodstream, this will also prevent the normal release of melatonin, growth hormones, and important immune factors, cutting into your immune system's valuable repair time. A typical day for many involves elevated stress levels, resulting in increased levels of stress hormones throughout the day, resulting in decreased levels of growth and repair hormones. Although the healthy body can bounce back from intermittent circadian stressors, chronic long-term circadian stress often lead to depressed immunity, illness, and chronic fatigue. If you go to bed after midnight, you've already missed over 2 hours of your physical repair cycle, which, as I said above, should start around 10 p.m. People working the graveyard shift or parents getting up in the middle of the night regularly have their psychogenic repair cycle disrupted. Such people commonly have a laundry list of nagging musculoskeletal injuries, an increased incidence of headaches, a sagging personality, and even neurological disorders. A disrupted sleep-wake cycle can also result in adrenal fatigue. The adrenal glands are located atop the kidneys and produce hormones called glucocorticoids, of which cortisol is one. Chronic exposure to stress and light at night requires the adrenals to produce more cortisol than is normal. Excessive production of cortisol leads to adrenal fatigue, which presents itself in in any number of ways, including chronic fatigue syndrome, viral infections, bacterial and fungal infections, and headaches. In order to overcome adrenal fatigue, it's very important to respect your natural circadian rhythm and allow your adrenals to rest. Factors that can disrupt your sleep-wake cycles. Stimulants. What do you do for a pick-me-up when you're tired? Most people reach for something sweet, drink a beverage containing caffeine, or smoke a cigarette. Some will have coffee with sugar added while they smoke. Caffeine, sugar, and tobacco are all stimulants which excite your sympathetic nervous system. This triggers the release of cortisol. Remember, cortisol tells your brain that it's time to get up in the morning or that it's time for action. The most popular form of caffeine is coffee. An 8-ounce cup of strong coffee contains about 300 milligrams of caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours, so if you have coffee at 3 p.m., you'll still have 150 milligrams of caffeine in your bloodstream at 9 p.m. 6 hours later, well into the psychogenic repair cycle of immune function, you'll have 75 milligrams of caffeine stimulating your adrenal glands to produce cortisol. Ideally, you should not drink anything containing caffeine after lunch and throughout the evening. 1 teaspoon of sugar has been shown to suppress your immune system for as long as 4 hours. When you consider that the average can of soda contains 10 teaspoons of sugar, or that the average breakfast cereal is comprised of between 46% and 53% sugar, you can see how easily sugar finds its way into your diet. A diet that does not match your primal pattern diet type typically results in large fluctuations of blood sugar levels. Blood sugar levels elevate after eating, triggering the release of insulin to break down and store the blood sugar. This often results in an overcompensation response, which in turn